After finishing her favorite romantic manga series, a girl noticed that there are no more volumes in the series and that it has been cancelled. She determines that now is the best moment to go commit suicide. She gets called out to purchase this guy behind her, though he warns her that what she is doing is extremely risky before she can devour herself into the hereafter. She takes out a knife and tells him to stay away from her because she needs to die because she thinks he's attempting to stop her from jumping to her death. She adds that if he gets any closer, he will get a fatal illness that will kill him for sure. But the guy merely walks forward and slamming into the knife as she points at him. The guy merely takes the girl and says, "Kids these days don't know how to do things anymore. If you're gonna jump off a bridge, you gotta do a flip." The girl screams because she doesn't want to kill anyone before she dies. After that, he grabs her by the face and dumps her across the bridge. He appears to be acting quite animated for someone who has just been stabbed, and he inquires as to the nature of the fatal illness, that is, whether it will cause spontaneous dismemberment or the liquefaction of organs. The eventual destination, though, was far worse than that. The man hits the windshield with his head and falls onto a train. Sitting there crying, the girl realizes that she has done it again, dragging someone to their death because she took too long to end herself. She continues to wail, and the man's head rolls up to her, showing that he is still alive. As he fixes his body and fully regenerates, he tells her that he finally understands what she meant when she mentioned the dreadful disease. But when the clothing are missing from his body, the girl becomes frightened and punches him in the nuts. Rest assured, those will also regrow. She flees from him, believing him to be a zombie. But he grabs her and claims to be undead rather than a zombie because he doesn't want to let her go. He overheard her say that her illness was unlucky. He shoots himself skyward, using his blood as rocket boots. He informs her that he fired him out to use the momentum to fly, and that he rebuilt his legs quickly after hearing an explanation of how he was flying with his blood. But she wasn't listening because she was attempting to flee, so he wants to find out more. He did not, however, come all the way up here only to let her go. Instead, he dangles her by her legs while stating that he still has some questions. She fears that if he continues to touch her, her bad luck would strike again. But letting go will be a very long way down. She claims it's alright because she had intended to pass away today anyhow. However, following a short ride on the merry-go-round, she is too afraid to keep telling him everything she knows about bad luck. She recounts how, when she was 8 years old, she was saying goodbye to her parents and giving them kisses before the plane crashed an hour later. Her parents had announced that they would be gone for a week on a business trip. She started wearing a lot of cover clothes as she could because everybody who came into direct contact with her flesh dies. In an attempt to test the unlucky guy's effects, the guy uses the opportunity to slide his hand under her blouse for some direct skin-to-skin contact. Eventually, a plane carrying a bunch of bananas dropped directly over the guy. While the male is still recovering, the girl seizes the chance to flee, but she trips over a banana and falls off the side of the structure. She cannot believe that a banana peel is going to bring her life to end as she falls. Fortunately, the man doesn't intend to let her pass away so quickly. He uses his flesh propulsion to fly down and inserts a bone into the wall to delay their descent. The man assures her that he has finally found someone who may be able to end his abnormally long existence, and that he won't be letting her go easily. He may be able to use her unluck to cause the greatest misfortune she has ever witnessed, and could even bring about his permanent death if he can discover out what causes it. In order to find a means to end his life, he now intends to take her to his hideout. As they confirm the girl's powers, a group of people dressed in suits are watching him take off, and have been ordered to capture her. They haven't yet introduced themselves, but the girl is Foucault and the guy is Andy back in the boys' hideout. Mavin wants to move on to surface area and ask Andy to remove all of her clothes from the greatest surface area as he has previously evaluated the change in effect with duration of contact. She can take him touching her to commit suicide, so it's not strange that she flees. She's just not mentally ready to strip for him. He pursues her, telling her that the reason she isn't telling him about her skill is simply because she doesn't want to. She reveals that she has hair similar to Rapunzel when she runs and gets her jacket stuck on a hook. She is powerless to stop herself, since anyone who tries to cut her hair will inevitably perish as a result of her. When Andy hears this, he grabs her chin, takes out a hairdresser's bag, and starts cutting her hair. She worries that if he lets go of her, unluck will activate, but he assures her that everything will be alright. He responds that it was years ago when she asks if he was once a hairstylist. She is thrilled when he finishes her haircut, But since he has been holding her for 15 minutes and the haircut is finished, something significant must be about to happen. A few seconds later, Andy's hair gets hacked off, not due of a natural tragedy. Instead, her head is severed. They arrive to capture Fakal, not because of Daster, but rather because of the suit people, and they had a capsule ready to prevent Andy from regenerating because she thought they had come to save her. Foucault was going to tell him to let him go, but she couldn't be more mistaken. Their sole purpose is to seize them for themselves. They are a group whose goal is to maintain order among those with unusual abilities, such as Andy and Foucault, who were given top priority. Everyone who comes into contact with her is struck unlucky. However, wearing clothing tends to neutralize that effect. Her abilities are undoubtedly harmful, and what's worse is that they can only be used to kill people, which is what they think Andy was attempting to accomplish. Foucault corrects them, stating that Andy just intended to kill himself. She keeps talking and thanks Andy for genuinely touching her without being afraid and for being reasonably kind to her, even when the group leader becomes irritated and threatens to murder her because of her power. At that moment, the bad luck that resulted from Andy touching her earlier strikes both the man holding the capsule and his head. Andy is now free to regenerate his body and live his life as he pleases when they fall into a hole, even if they are unable to murder him directly. The leader advises the others not to panic. He can still be dissected into tiny fragments and perhaps resealed. After all, his fighting skills are still rudimentary, but that's where they are misguided. Indeed, Andy is merely an amateur at this point. But that's only because he injured his brain, trying to suppress some memories in order to save them on space. But if he could just grow back that area of his brain, all of his combat experience from the last 100 years would suddenly come flooding back. With all that experience combined with an everlasting body, no one could ever hope to defeat him in combat. Even though Andy's suit cronies managed to do a fair amount of damage, he quickly slashes and kills them. After then, his brain began to lag from overload, and he blocks all the memories once more. The man in the suit sees that Andy would defeat him in every way if he were to fight, so he resorts to more devious tactics and threatens to kill Foucault if Andy doesn't chop off his head and throw it over without giving it any energy back. Although Andy is upset that he can't fight the man any longer, he will follow the ultimate if Foucault's life is in danger. He should give up on her and focus on taking care of himself, advises Foucault. Since she has harmed so many people with her skills, it is best if she dies regardless. But Andy doesn't care what she thinks. He makes the decision to save her life, and he will follow through on that decision even if it puts him in a subterranean laboratory. Despite having only spent 2 hours with Andy, Foucault is moved that he would jeopardize his freedom for her, and she chooses to grant his request. She understands how to bring about the worst possible event from unfortunate, and she does it by escaping her captor's hold and leaping into the air to plant a kiss on Andy's head as it hits the ground. Andy, with a big smile on his face, waits for what is going to happen next. Realizing what she just accomplished, he holds the suit guy in position and instructs Foucault to get the hell out of here soon. The building, along with Andy and the man in the suit, is blasted apart by a huge meteorite that drops from the sky. It's safe to say that Foucault is sitting in Andy's demolished hideout, disappointed that Andy might not be returning this time. But he thanks her for the assistance back there as he exits the building with the sword in his chest and a few missing teeth. He's still holding out his banana. When she eventually identifies herself as Foucault, she asks him what his name is, but he can't recall it because it was suppressed. She can't have him walking around without a name. He accepts when Foucault suggests the name Andy for him. Andy remarks that his single kiss are to blame for all of this harm, adding that if they were to smash, the damage would likely be much greater. He also mentions that Foucault is now back in action. Thanks for watching. For more contents like this, click the video on the screen, and I would see you over there, and don't forget to subscribe. Arigatou.